Truth has a bizarre way of occasionally seeping through mainstream media, regardless of the comprehensive measures in place to keep it out. I have observed this phenomenon for many years, and I have come to regard truth ultimately as a thing functioning outside of human control, like a spirit or a god. I was watching this film, The Nightmare, which was in fact a Netflix documentary, when this man, while describing the ongoing harassment and oppression brought on by his sleep paralysis, as well as menacing shadow monsters, during one particularly traumatic episode, he was pulled out of his body and targeted by these dark entities. And he says, and I quote, "Suddenly I remembered there was this Jesus guy that people talked about in my childhood. So he asked Jesus to show up. And he says the affliction immediately stopped. I was very surprised to find that in a Netflix documentary. And then, while undertaking some obsessive research on UFOs, a subject I was familiar with, and therefore also familiar with MUFON investigator Joe Jordan, a former space program contractor, one day shocked me when he said this in a 2020 interview with a host of the Confessionals podcast.
And CE4 is Close Encounter of the Fourth Kind. And that represented the abduction experience. As we started into this research, we started looking at the same issues that the secular researchers and peers that have been working on this for many years already. They had questions. They couldn't understand why this was happening to certain people and not others. They didn't have a commonality between experiencers that they could put their finger on. They had a lot of theories, but nothing that was, right to the point. They could say, this is the reason, this is a common factor between them. It's just not there. They hadn't found that. They also said that nobody had been able to stop these experiences. So these are the things that we were finding at the same time in the beginning. And then about 97, we had interviewed an experiencer about his experience. We had him 2 hours on VHS tape that we had recorded his story. But as we went back and looked at these testimonies, especially this one, we saw that something special was in this recording. And we had totally missed it, probably because we had our own preconceived notion at the time. And in this testimony, this gentleman stated that while he was having one of his experiences, abduction experiences, it became excruciatingly terrifying. And the only thing he could think to do in total fear was, because he was a brand new Christian himself, to call out, "Jesus, Jesus, help me," or "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus." And when he did, the abduction experience instantly and abruptly stopped, and he woke up in the bed. And when I heard that, I thought, wait a minute. We've been told that the abduction experience can't be stopped. And yet, here this man is saying that he had stopped it, and in a way that I had never expected it to be stopped. So I'm thinking, is this just a fluke experience, testimony, or is this something that actually has happened before, and maybe we haven't heard about it? So I contacted the leading researchers in the realm that I had studied from and called them personally and said, "Guys, I've got this unusual case here I'd like to talk to you about. I have questions about it." And they say, "Sure, what do you have? Tell me what you got." And I tell them the story about this gentleman, and before they would answer me, they would say, "Can we go off the record on this?" And I'd say, "Sure, we can go off the record. I don't mind. I'm just looking for some answers here, Off the record also means that I can tell you what these people said, but I can't tell you who said it. Okay, that's off the record. That's keeping anonymity. And what these gentlemen said, each one that I talked to, was, yes, we've come across cases like this where people have been able to stop these experiences either by singing a hymn, a Christian hymn, saying a prayer, calling out in Jesus' name. And I'm thinking, really? But we've read your work, and nowhere do you state that that's possible. You state otherwise, that you can't stop an experience. Well, there's reasons for that. And I said, well, what would that reason be? And all of them pretty much said the same thing. We didn't know what to make of that. And I'm fully accepting of that. Yeah, you didn't know, okay? Maybe it needs to be looked at a little bit deeper. I understand. I can accept that answer. But the mistake they made was the other answer they gave me along with that. We were afraid to go there because it might affect our credibility in the UFO realm, because they were getting into religion. That's what they were afraid of, to bring that up in the UFO realm. It's not very well accepted in the UFO realm. So instead of sharing evidence, actual research findings, they decided not to share at all. And that, my friend, is what you call a cover-up.
And this statement seemed to correlate with what the most famous mainstream abductee of all time, Whitley Strieber, had written. I found a symmetry between these two discoveries, so I began to look for more. And what I was looking for began to show up everywhere. As the ancient Eastern proverb claims, a person's gift makes room for them in this life, bringing them before powerful figures. This is the intended destiny of all artists. Yet we are now living in a time when socio-political gatekeeping has interfered with the natural order of things, suppressing true spirits while elevating propagandists, careerists, and hacks. We are seeking out the real artists of our time. We are seeking out the unsung. Like, subscribe, and share to aid us in this endeavor. For Brandish Productions, this is Daddy Brandish.